Hi guys, welcome back to Never in the Back Foot. Now India has announced the squad for the upcoming two-match test series against Bangladesh that starts on the 19th of September. So tonight the discussion is again pretty simple. We'll dive into the squad selection. While obviously some of the choices were expected, we saw them coming. There's still plenty to discuss, right? And who better than Naman to kind of have on the show and engage in this discussion. I think off record also we were just going on this whole nostalgic arc that we will uncover through the course of this episode. And to all the viewers who have joined in now, please do share your questions and perspectives. We're happy to hear from you as well. And Naman, just to kickstart our discussion, what were your first thoughts on the squad name? I mean, it was very predictable, yet some very interesting names who have made their presence felt there, right?
Well, it's exactly how you said it, Neha. It was quite predictable for me. Actually, on the day of the squad announcement itself, I was scrolling through Big Buzz and they had put out a post, predict your squad, and I just put down a comment. Sequentially, it was the same squad that was announced. So it was my first time where I ever got a squad entirely right. Like all the 16 had all the 16 in my squad there as well. So yeah, of course, I think around 13 or 14 obviously picked themselves right up front. There were no doubts about whether they will be there or not. I think the only doubts were about the two extra pacers. Who will they pick? So there, I believe somebody like a Mukesh could have been looked at, somebody like a Shardul could have been looked at. But given the way Akash performed in the England series, the one match that he got, I think, and even after that in the Duleep Trophy, the way he bowled, man, those were some jaffas, the way he bowled the wickets that he got. So I believe he really put up his hand and he showed his case. He did his chances no harm there. And with Yash Dayal, like the League Trophy, he did pretty well. He's been doing pretty well consistently across the red ball formats domestically. So he had been in the radar of the selectors for quite some time. And even in this year's IPL, the way he came back, that showed a lot about his temperament. Now, while I obviously do not like to compare formats, IPL is completely different. And here, when you talk about Test cricket, it's a different, literally different ball game altogether. But it's about the temperament that he showed in the way he came back. So that probably showed the maturity that he has developed over the year after the 5 6s incident. So all in all, and the fact that we need to cultivate a left arm fast bowler in our test format as well. We've been trying for a while. Like I remember 21 May, Nagwaswala was on the tour as a net bowler. Then we got Unadkat back for a while. Arshdeep has been playing county for a while, but hasn't really done a lot in the Ranji. Like he's just been doing, but still not at the level that you would expect before you hand him out a test cap. So that way, I feel it was about time that somebody like a Yash Dayal could have gotten look in. There were other prospects as well. Obviously, Khalil was a potential, but probably Yash's record in the domestic circuit over the past few years has been a bit better than Khalil, and Khalil has been prone to injuries. We've known he's had a track record over the past 3 years that he keeps picking up these niggles here and there, and they can evolve into something else. There was also a prospect of Mohsin, but even he has been unfortunately consumed by injuries a lot. So, given everything, I believe at this point, if we had to take a punt at any left arm bowler for the pace department, Yash had to be the one. So, and yeah, the batters definitely like more or less it's the same. Like if there are certain names that we could talk about eventually, whether they should have made the cut or why did they not make the cut.
Definitely, and I think through the course of our discussion, we will pick on these pointers. But I think another characteristic, of this sport is also that the performance in the domestic cricket has been rewarded, right? And quite recently, we had the round one of the League Trophy as well. We had a few names there, who kind of made a case for themselves and eventually, just made their way into this sport as well. So, Naman, did you also follow round one of that the League Trophy? And great to see names like Akash Deep, Yash Dayal kind of, just stake a claim in this, very competitive Indian side?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this Duleep Trophy has probably been the most happening red ball domestic tournament in India in a while. Like, I cannot remember the last time so many eyes were on a red ball tournament happening in India. And the way, I mean, credit to Gautam Gambhir for this, the way he's made sure that all the players who are playing for the Indian team, they go back to the domestic circuit and they play there. Because, first of all, it elevates the quality of cricket that's being played there. Secondly, they need practice on Indian pitches as well because we've seen that Indian batters tend to struggle a bit against spin of late. So that's why it's important for them to grab that. And of course, it's a cutthroat competition for the Indian side. If there are people who are probably doing slightly better than you at this point of time, you've really got to go and do the grind there in the domestic circuit as well. So great to see that. And obviously, the new faces. I believe the the shining star of the first round has been Mushir Khan for me. Like the way that match began, nobody like saw it going that far. The way he farmed the strike with Saini, it was that was a knock of pure class and maturity. The way Mushir batted over there. I mean, if you have to read the scorecard, they were 94 for 7 when Saini walked in. From 94 to 7, they stitched together a 200 run partnership for the eighth wicket. And the bowling was also not like a C grade or a D grade bowling lineup. There are the likes of Khalil Ahmed, Akashdeep, Avesh Khan, Kuldeep Yadav for that regard. So the bowling, nobody can say that it was against a weak bowling on a flat deck. No, the deck was not flat. Although it was Bangalore small boundaries, yes, but it was not a flat deck. Other batters did struggle over there. It was a very competitive pitch. So that way, like it's probably a bit too soon to say it. He's definitely has a long way to go ahead. But if he continues piling the runs that the way he's been doing, like we might see our own Indian version of the Waugh brothers soon in the Indian Test lineup, Sarfaraz and Mushir. Like that's something I would hope and look forward to. I hope he keeps carrying on the way he's been doing so far. So yeah, he's the shining star for me. And obviously in the bowling department, Akashdeep had a very impressive performance. Some known names themselves like Mukesh Kumar picked up 5 wickets in one of the games. In the game, sorry, not one of the games. And more or less even the other guys, but they had some pretty good performances. Some known ones didn't really convert the way we would have hoped them to. Even Mayank, for that regard, he got a start, but the way he's been like that for a while. And even the likes of Harshit Rana had a decent outing out there in the first innings. He had a good spell. He took a four for. So good to see, like even the names which gained popularity during the IPL. Good to see them doing well in the red ball format as well.
Certainly, and I think this was the point in our yesterday's discussion as well. We were talking about how a lot of players were just typecasted as T20 players, actually performing really well in the red ball format, augurs well for India as well. And just looking at the names that kind of missed this, the lead trophy, unfortunately, or rather, just paved the way for others to make a name, have to be Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, right? A lot of us expected that we'd see this duo play the Duleep Trophy, but they kind of did not mark their presence. So did Ashwin, and we had a lot of other injuries as well. So Naman, somewhere again, when Gambhir came, he came with this whole philosophy that this whole senior junior divide won't kind of exist. We'll treat everyone equally. Everyone has to play domestic cricket, and we're going to kind of reinforce that message. But again, when you have your senior players, kind of not turning up for this domestic match, like how did you perceive that?
Well, personally, I would have loved to see Virat here. Even more than Rohit, I would have really loved to see Virat here because his struggle against spin, like we spoke about it before the T20 World Cup as well. Like we keep speaking about it, he comes out, he puts some performances, but definitely it is pretty evident that yeah, he is not the same player against spin that he once was. So it would have been good to see him out there. Like, and not just spin, yeah, it's about the Indian conditions itself. Like playing with the red ball, playing with the SG ball on Indian conditions. He doesn't he hasn't had a lot of that as for the other batters. So it would have been good to see him. Rohit also for that regard, but given everything, like they also have a pretty long schedule afterwards. There are these test matches and there are the ODIs against Bangladesh. Then right after that, we have the New Zealand series going on. Then there's a bit of time, and then again they are flying out to Australia. So maybe like it was just that okay, let's keep it optional for them. If they want to play, they play. If they don't want to play, they don't play. Would have loved to see them. Really would have loved to see them. But if they're not, if they didn't show up, I mean, okay, I think you can probably cut them a bit of slack on that.
Absolutely. I mean, senior players and they kind of, would make their place in the team on the basis of merit and their past performances as well. But just looking at Rohit Sharma as well, he's coming off, of this long layoff. I know he did play in that Sri Lanka series as well, and will be joined by Yashasvi Jaiswal right at the top of the order. So again, Naman, thoughts are the same. Having this left-right combination again, signaling good things for Team India.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the way Yashasvi played in the England series, you can definitely not look beyond him for the opening spot. There's no reason to look beyond him. Rohit obviously takes the spot back. back here. He's been there, so that's the opening combination to go ahead with. And yeah, even though like it's been a while since he last played a competitive game, but I mean it's Rohit Sharma. Yaar. He can literally doze off in an IPL final and wake up to win the trophy. So we know who we are talking about here, and he has been India's best batter since 2019 across the three formats, hands down. The best batter. I mean, even yeah, I'll even go on to say he's done better than Kohli in these past 3 4 years. Like right from the 2019 World Cup, there hasn't been a significant dip in his performances across the three formats. T20 maybe a little bit here and there because he changed this game all over, but across the formats, there's no significant dip that we can see. So yeah, I mean after winning the World Cup, definitely he was in a great mood, maybe some time off, spending some with his family, and now getting back for the grind because from here it's almost 4 months non-stop high action, like quality cricket to be played. 10 test matches over the next 4 months. So that's definitely grueling, and you want Virat and Rohit to play all these 10. We cannot afford to have any sort of situation where they are probably overworked or they are not there. Kambir has his own philosophy that no matter what you need to play, you cannot be afraid of injuries, you cannot be afraid of injuries. That's a good philosophy to have, but then obviously it's been a while. They've been around for a long time. So rest here and there is much important. There shouldn't be a fatigue with players. So don't mind them missing out. And obviously coming back to the batting combination, left right combination after a long time for India in tests that we have arrived at one consistently. The last left handed opener who did consistently was Shikhar. And since I think 2017, he hasn't 17, 18 ke baad se he hasn't really featured a lot in the tests. So it's around after 6 years we've arrived at a place where he can have a left right combination at the top. So that's a good sign for me. And it's not that it's just for the sake of having a left right combination. The both of them have the game. They can play aggressively, they can hold their defense. So it just makes sense for them to be at the top.
Absolutely. And talking about, the set opening now, let's look at the number three. I think it's going to be Shubman Gill, right? He joins this strong top order. He's likely going to continue at this number three position. But Naman, does he inspire a lot of confidence for you at this position? And kind of also mirrors my reflections on this question. Thoughts on Shubman Gill's poor form. Man is attacked left, right, and center. And, a lot of people have questions on his red ball game. But where do you see yourself?
Honestly, back in 2020-21 itself, when Shubman burst onto the scene, the little that I had seen about or seen his scorecards in the domestic formats and his game when I saw it, I just felt since then, and I probably spoke to you or Achal about it, that I see him potentially as India's future number three. Not the kind of number three that we've had, not the likes of Dravid and Pujara, but maybe like the likes of the Pontings. That kind of a number three. I saw it happening. Like I could just it was just a gut feeling back then for me that he could potentially be our number three because back then the conversation was that he'll probably be slotting in the middle order. He'll probably slot in the middle order, but then oh no, he is going out to open in the test match format as well. And I just saw that, bro, he has the game for both. And my gut just said that three is probably his spot. And the when it actually became that way, that post when the selector started looking away from Pujara and how Gill himself raised his hand and he wanted to slot at three, I could see it happening. But obviously, the transition hasn't been the smoothest so far. He has had his troubles at the new number, but I have plenty of time for him at this spot. And it's that stage of his career, man. I mean, a player like him, the players of his class, you burst onto the scene with a bang, and then when you set those expectations, when you set those high expectations from everybody around you, then there comes this phase in every player's life. Like we can remember with Kohli as well back in 2014. In 2011, in the Australian series, he was not having a great one, but then he got back for that match, scored that century, and kept going, kept going. Then in 2014, he hit that patch, kept pushing, and then had the BGT that he did in 2014-15. So with these players, obviously people are going to say that he wouldn't have gotten so many opportunities if it were not Gill. Any other player would have been done away with just two matches. Agreed. Most other players would have been. But you earmark some of these talents and you give them probably a longer rope than the others because of the potential that you see in them and because of the returns that they can deliver in the future. So I still feel that given how Gambhir operates, given the mentality that he has. I have no doubt that he will be the number three for the next 10 matches that we are playing till the BGT. If not 10, at least till the coming five. At least the five in India, he will be our number three. And to be honest, like, yeah, people say that his only highlight of his test career has been the 91 that he scored at Gaba. Since then, there hasn't been any knock of substance. I would say that, okay, yeah, that's a major highlight. So that was probably India's best test of the century after the Kolkata one against Australia. We have had Lords, we have had two Lords tests, we have had a few others, but that was totally different altogether. And that was once in a decade, once in a half a century kind of a match. So you cannot compare his performance there with his other performances. He scored a century in Bangladesh where the tracks were not very helpful for batting, although in that game people did score a lot of runs. He scored a century in Ahmedabad as well in the Australia Test, but obviously not at the rate at which we expect him to. But still, I have a lot of time for him. And he's like, since we are on that, he is my player to look forward to for this series and the upcoming one as well. I feel his test career specifically has to take its shape starting from here. And yeah, I hope he goes on to score a few of those centuries that he can. And even if on this one I am proved to be wrong, I wouldn't mind, because this is one of those, like, calls or gut feelings that I strongly believe in. And even if it goes wrong, I'm like, it's okay. I can vouch for it without any regrets.
Yeah, and I mean, for a minute there, you look like a very concerned father. Like, up to he's 25, he has to, pull his socks up and do his due diligence, because we've seen that glimpses of promise in Shubman Gill across formats, even in that England series, which I think a lot of people just conveniently seem to forget, and the recency bias of course, Duleep Trophy coming into play right now. But I think Shubman Gill certainly makes a case for himself at number three, something that you are also vouching for. And let's talk about Virat Kohli again, because I think another talking point about him is the stat I read that, the last he scored a century was almost 400 odd days back. This versus, the West Indies. And we haven't seen a lot of, like Virat Kohli in red ball, scoring those runs heavily and everything. So again, Naman, how would you reckon, Virat Kohli would be coming in to this series versus Bangladesh? I mean, earlier, whenever we look at a series versus Bangladesh, a lot of people are like, "Ah, it's just Bangladesh." But now this is an opposition that you just can't brush away, considering, the kind of performances they put against Pakistan. That deserves another conversation for itself. But Virat Kohli and his mindset coming into the series.
I think now personally I've reached a space where, like, I don't think I have to say a lot about what's going on in Virat Kohli's mind, what kind of mindset he's coming in with, what is he looking forward to, what has he been doing. I think we've done enough of that, even in our groups, on our discussions. Like, we've had enough. We know now, we have understood that, okay, he'll take his time off, he will get back, and he will get back and deliver. Obviously, in this particular format, he hasn't been himself, and obviously missing the England series was not great in terms of the factual stats that we speak about, more than 400 days not getting 100, because like, he didn't play a lot in that much now. Like, the last he scored at 180 against Australia, I believe it was in Ahmedabad itself, the same game where Shubman got his 100. Since then, how many tests has he even played? I think he played the WDC final, he played those two against West Indies, then he played the ones in South Africa, right? I believe he did play the ones in South Africa. Then not much. So there hasn't really been much to even look at. So cool. Like, okay, it's been that much time. Number of runs. Agreed, he's not had those runs, but it's Virat Kohli at the end of the day. We know he turns up in these clutch matches. And obviously, you can't expect a player to turn up in every clutch match that he plays. I mean, if he didn't turn up in the 2023 World Cup final, ठीक है यार, he's turned up on other days as well. You cannot just say that नहीं, ये तो बस इस गेम में बनाता है, उस गेम में रन नहीं बनाता, ये नहीं करता, वो नहीं करता. So with him, I just hope he has that one run in Test cricket that he really can, and like the way his peers against whom he's benchmarked, or who are benchmarked against him, should I say, have gone on to score, especially Joe Root. He deserves some time to be spoken about himself. So I really hope that he joins back that track and be like on your left, and keeps passing all of them one by one, one by one, one by one, towards getting those big scores, towards getting those hundreds, those 200s, possibly even a 300 that I'm hoping for. So wish to see that hungry Virat Kohli with that hunger for test runs back on the field after a long time. That's something that I think we have slightly missed post the 2021 thing where the captaincy changes happened, and that was a bad phase for Indian cricket overall. I really hope with everything that has happened ever since, just hope the happy memories of the T20 World Cup just gone by, the way his family is been his strongest support throughout. I just hope that he's in that kind of a zone where he comes back to the field with the hunger for runs and gets those runs with the aggression that he can.
Absolutely. And again, he's one player that, we definitely shouldn't write off, because time and again he has proven why he's such an important cog in India's test setup as well. And another interesting addition to this side definitely has to be Rishabh Pant, right? I mean, getting his first call up to this Indian red ball side after that, horrific accident in December 2022. I think a lot of us fans were just so happy because, I mean, he's such a character, right? Like, just embodies resilience and the kind of character he's. I mean, I don't think we'll ever have another Rishabh Pant. But again, I think the biggest question that I have for you is, where will you slot in Rishabh Pant? Does he bat in at number 5? Is he your going to be your first choice wicket keeper? We have so many options again here, with KL Rahul and all of them coming back. But yes, talk to us about Rishabh Pant.
Okay, since you briefly alluded to KL, I'll just mention that he is doing what every Rahul has ever done for Indian cricket. Slot in wherever it's required, keep the wickets whenever it's required. That's what he'll do. He batted at 4, he batted at 6, he'll bat at 5 now. So yeah, again, just getting back where I would slot in Rishabh. I don't mind him at 5 because it gives you that left-hander again, sandwich between those right-handers. And another aspect is that KL and Virat, I think their test game is quite similar. They take their time and then they score those boundaries. They take their time. KL specifically now has, like, we know the way he's become. So not very happy about that in the white ball formats. But yeah, for tests it augurs well. So I wouldn't mind a Rishabh slotting in at 5 just to take the momentum ahead, do the counter punch that's required, and then KL walking in at 6. But I think a lot of it will depend on the situation that we are in. If we are cruising together, if we are in the momentum, then I believe we can slot and Rishabh in and just get a quick 40 ball 50 or how much ever, and then KL coming in at 6. So that, and with Jadeja walking at 7, it gives you the option to rotate the left right combination here and there, and that it will be quite situational for me. The way even in 2021, if we recall, uh, Pant started walking out at 5 ahead of Rahane. Jadeja sometimes started walking out earlier as well. Even Aksar did recently. So I think I don't mind that strategy at all. You play by the situation of the game if you think this is playing in your favor right now. And even with regards to the bowling, who is the opposition bowling? Now with Bangladesh, they do have spinners like Shakib and even Mehdi Hassan, off spinners as well as left arm spinners who can. So there's no real benefit that if you have two left arm spinners bowling, then probably send Pant ahead. But it's just pure situational and on the day where what they feel like. I wouldn't, like, if I have to earmark a position, then definitely probably KL at 5, Pant at 6, but very flexible for me. And of course, delighted with his return. Missed him dearly in Test cricket. Like, it was really not the same. India's Test games were really not the same without him behind the stumps. His his comments, everything, just dearly missed it. I'm really glad for him to be here. Even the other day in the Leap Trophy, the way he had that banter with Kuldeep Yadav, single lega, nahi lega, it was very heartwarming to see. So just happy to see him back. Was a bit concerned whether he will be fit enough to keep for 5 long days. That was my concern. Like, it's one thing to be back for IPL, keep for those 20 overs, stretching it to the World Cup as well. But keeping for those 5 days after such a horrific incident and such a rehab, it requires the level of endurance and fitness that it does. And the fact that they have picked him in the squad, it means that he is ready for it. And I have no doubt that he'll start ahead of Chirel in the lineup.
Actually, my next point was going to be that, because when you just look at that middle order, the number of options we have stacked up is kind of it's nice, to have problems of abundance, but you have the likes of Sarfraz Khan, who has just performed so well. He's literally broken down the wall, with putting up such commendable performances, especially versus England as well. We saw those remarkable performances. Now you have someone like a Dhruv Jurel as well, in the mix. So, Naman, for you, again, it's a toss up between these two. Will both of them miss out? Like, do you see a possibility of Sarfraz making the cut? Thoughts on the same?
I mean, in my opinion, the way the team would be approaching, they would want to go with the combination that they see playing the five test down under. They would want those guys to have as much international test match not practice, I mean international test game time out in the middle. And I believe that's the philosophy that they would want to go ahead with. So I see KL starting ahead of Sarfaraz. Sarfaraz has done amazingly well. He deserves his spot. Oh, Akshat, I'm so sorry. I disagree. Like, it's not about a disagreement. It's just about what I think might happen. So I would prefer to go with KL to start off with. While Sarfaraz has done amazingly well in domestic, he did great in the England series as well. But here things are like Australia is a different place altogether. Like the ball bounces around, and this time we're also playing at Optus. Optus and Gabba, the bounce that we can expect there. With Sarfaraz, he probably hasn't had the experience of playing at those kind of surfaces a lot. Facing that quality of bowling with the Kookaburra, I'm not sure whether Sarfaraz really has that. And even with that regard, like I feel they would want to slot in KL, give that batting combination a decent run in these five tests ahead of BGT, and see how everybody slots in if there's any changes required. So yeah, but other than that, I feel Sarfaraz is your backup. Is he's your spare batter. If anybody gets injured, he directly slots in, and that's why he's there in the squad along with all of these. I mean, even Shreyas didn't make the cut, so he was earmarked there. But during England series, whatever happened, and he lost out as well. Still, Sarfaraz has been able to keep his spot. Particle scored a 50, but Sarfaraz has managed to keep his spot. So, like, he has good times ahead of him. Like I previously briefly mentioned, to see Mushir and him batting together for India and Test, he has good times ahead of him. But at this moment, given the stage that we are in, I feel KL probably edges a bit ahead of him, and I back him as well. I would back KL to come good as well here. He's had his own journey of sorts. I mean, it really pains the cricket fan within me to see him like that. Although I'm somebody who makes a lot of like sarcastic humor about it, but it really pains to see the way he can go into his shell at times. So really hope he gets out of it. And coming back to Jurel, like like interesting story. Like back in January this year, I was taking a flight from Kanpur to Mumbai, and I ran into Ankit Rajput in my flight. We were in the same flight. We sat next to each other. So there, I was just talking to him. How's like the team coming across? Who are the players you think might make it to the next level? Spoke a bit about Jurel, and he just mentioned that just watch out, he'll make it to the test side soon. Here I am coming, like watching him in IPL and talking about him from that point of view, and he goes on to say that he'll be in the test side pretty soon if he does his work the way he's been doing. Next thing you know, a few weeks later, when the squad for England was announced, he was in the squad. So it was like just a few days back to know that, and the way he performed as well in that series, great maturity, great head, and although his IPL this time wasn't as great, but I think they are earmarking him for the long run as well. They are earmarking him to be the backup wicketkeeper to Pant in the longer run, and even a backup batter as well, probably down at 6 and 7, even a backup batter. So let's just travel. Let's just have him travel with the squad, play a few games here and there if required, come in as a substitute wherever needed, and he's one for the long shot as well right now, because even along with Pant, maybe like Kishan came in for a while, but then he had his own issues. KS was there for a while, but probably didn't make the most of his chances. Jurel definitely hasn't done his chances any harm, so I feel he's the one for the longer haul. And yeah, I believe like one man's loss has been another man's gain here. Kishan's loss turned out to be Jurel's gain. He literally leapfrogged here. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Absolutely, and I think it's further proven, guys, that Naman also moonlights as a national selector, because the Jurel selection was a flight conversation that Naman had, and yeah, Naman has a lot of interesting powers like that as well. But interesting story there, Naman. I think Dhruv Junaid is definitely one to watch out for, and I think that Ishan Kishan fiasco definitely, just played into his favor. And yeah, we will talk about exclusions as well. I think a little later on in our discussion. But we spoke about Yash Dayal a little earlier in our conversation. Now he's coming on the back of some great performances in red ball cricket in the Duleep Trophy as well. He has pipped Khalil Ahmed and Ashdeep because I think the selectors just see him, as someone who can add a lot of value. And now I think it's time, we invest in that left arm pacer as well. So, Naman, how would you assess his progression? And do you think he's going to be a very important component for the bowling attack in the BGT as well?
Okay, so unfortunately, I haven't seen a lot of his matches on TV. Like seen his bowling with the red ball, I haven't had the chance. I saw a bit in the Duleep Trophy, but then when he was bowling, I somehow couldn't happen to tune in at that time. But whatever scorecards I've read, how much ever I've heard about him from everybody, he does seem like one to groom for the red ball format. And even in IPL, like his style of bowling did seem to be much better suited to it. Number one, and number two, there's a pattern. I mean, if you have to observe this one pattern with Kohli, with RCB, whichever Indian pacers they've been picking, they've all like not begun IPL on the greatest note, but they've gone on to develop and reach the red ball arena and do well in the red ball arena and make their case for the test arena as well. Like everyone, let's just look back at it. Umesh Yadav, like he's been there. Siraj, the way he's come along. Saini, like although he's dipped from the radar, but in the Duleep Trophy, the way he bowled and batted. So, like there is a pattern to how RCB scouts its bowling lineup. Now, when they picked up Yash Dayal, obviously a lot of eyebrows were raised, including my own. No escaping from that. But so that is something which does make me believe that if he would have wanted him in his side, then he would have seen that in him. He's someone who goes for wicket takers. And even with the style of bowling that Yash has, it is probably not the best for T20, although this year he improved remarkably. In Test, I believe, or in red ball, should I say, I believe, if groomed well, traveling with the team, getting that exposure. And now Morne Mokal is the new coach. So probably working with him, he'll learn a few more tricks, build more skill sets, and just gain that control over his line and length. Like if like a bowler like him, if he just manages to control his line and length, pitch it up consistently, I believe he can be pretty lethal because he has got the pace as well. He is not one to just bowl at the 130 mark. He can touch the 140 mark consistently as well. So having that from the left arm angle, he's pretty tall as well, not among the shorter ones. With that angle, I believe he can be a menace. Not sure how when
Yeah,
will he make his debut, whether it will happen this series or not. But yeah, here to travel with the team at least for some time.
definitely excited to see how he kind of goes if he gets that opportunity, because I think he just adds a lot of value to that bowling lineup as well. And I think ahead of the selection, there was so much chatter, right, about Jasprit Bumrah, possibly being rested because they want to, keep a lookout on his workload management. But surprisingly, he's found a place in the squad, and I think a lot of us fans are happy. We're seeing him after a significant period of time. So again, Naman, what did you make of it and the workload management aspect that the word we just keep throwing around so much? Again, was it a wise choice to kind of include him in this series, considering we're missing like Shami and all of that? We still needed our pace spearhead to feature in this one.
Definitely, it's a wise choice and it's a smart one as well. I mean, if you don't play him here, let's look at India's schedule for the coming while. You do not play him here. There are the three tests against New Zealand. You would hold the same argument there as well. Oh, let's preserve him. Let's preserve him. ODIs, you might say, okay, let's give the others a chance. Champions Trophy is coming. We need to find other pacers for that as well. If in case somebody is injured, if you're still doubtful about somebody here or the other. So those arguments will always be there. And then when the BGT comes, everybody will be like, oh my God, Bumrah hasn't played a test match in so long. Bumrah hasn't had a competitive match in so long. How will he do? What is going to happen? So you see, whatever you do as an Indian selector, whatever you do as the Indian team, there's always the devil's advocate to question you round and center. So now getting back to the answer, first of all, the fact that it happened, it's a rational choice as well. Maybe he won't play all the five tests. He shouldn't play all the five tests, in my opinion. His workload should be managed across the games. But you had to make him play at least three of these five. He should, because Okay, let's get real here. First, wanna just rest players like anything. He will make sure that they play and they perform and they make it to the big stage with some practice, with some match practice behind them. Secondly, let's not forget the WTC points are still there for this to be taken. We haven't yet qualified for the final already, although we have a great chance. We still need to go out there, pick those 20 wickets, get those 12 points, and make it to the final. That is the objective of these five test matches as well, as it is for the BGT. BGT definitely has its own pride and prestige, but these matches are there for those points as well. So, and you need somebody like a Bumrah to be your spearhead, especially that Shami is also not available right now. And let's say if you were to take Bumrah out of the squad, I mean, everybody will have their different picks for who should be the second seamer. If you put 10 people in the room, you will have six options for the second seamer. I can guarantee you that, right? So, yeah, he should have been there. And it's good that he's there.
Definitely, and I hope we get to see him in at least one of these tests, and eventually versus New Zealand. So he's fit and fresh for that BGT as well. But I think another interesting aspect that I actually wanted to pick your brains on was now when India took on England. I think the major observation was that Bumrah was the vice captain then. But this time around, we see no such role allocated by the selection committee. There were rumors that Shubman Gill could possibly be named. But yeah, I mean, what do you think was the rationale behind the same? Like, why is there no consistency with this vice captain selection, and why is it just not being spoken about enough?
Good question. I mean, like we haven't had a consistently designated vice captain, like let alone captain itself. We have had a lot of changes in captaincy as well, but properly designated vice captain we haven't had for a while. Like keeps chopping and changing here and there. Right now, I believe the rationale here could be that we're not. Maybe it's clear that they're not gonna make Bumrah play both the games. That could be one indication. They are sure that they'll play him for one game. Even in the New Zealand series, they'll probably make him play two games and just leave the rest. So, and about Shubman Gill as well, maybe they just want him to focus on his batting, because even if the two letters are just next to your name within a parenthesis, it still has a mental effect of its own. So just let them focus on their game, let them go out, score those runs, pick those wickets, get those run outs, and get the job done. Regarding the vice captaincy, future leadership, stuff like that, I mean, God forbid if Rohit misses out on a game or two, they will have somebody to take up the leadership. Like there are proven people in the squad who can take up the leadership there. So that's not an issue for me. Even if Rohit goes to take a loo break or he is not there on the field for an hour, there are plenty of them to just take care of the field placements in that 1 hour. So not really bothered about that. Eventually, definitely, we need to have a succession plan in place. We haven't had one for a while. I am myself a bit concerned that we should have one in place. There's no denying that. But given the way things stand right now, I myself am not sure who would be my definite pick for captaincy. Until a while back, I had mine. But right now, I still feel even the selectors, even us as fans, for the test format specifically, maybe this season, this cycle of WTC will help us get a better understanding on who can be the next one in charge. Although I would love for Kohli to be back, but yeah, I mean, that would. If I have to name somebody right now, I would say let Kohli take over again for the next cycle or how much ever he wishes to. Just want to see those 60 overs of hell, like 5 days of hell, test match after test match after test match again and again.
Again, there Naman speaking like a true selector and airing his fantasies as well. Of having Virat Kohli come back as captain, which I think a lot of viewers will be very happy to listen to as well, because I think a lot of them have been asking for Virat Kohli to be RCB captain as well. And ahead of the next season, I think the calls are only going to get louder. But just looking at another aspect in the bowling lineup, now we have Shami, who's going to be unavailable. He continues to recover from his, Achilles heel surgery. And Harsha Bhogle also spoke about how, Shami is the kind of bowler who just keeps getting better as he keeps, bowling. But I think he's going to be a massive, massive miss for India. But Naman, are you again fairly confident of a good return for Shami whenever he does come back? But you will still, miss him a tad bit in this series?
Undoubtedly, yeah. Ever since the World Cup, the way Shami played those 3-4 matches, we've been missing him. Like he's been one of those guys. He's there, but you're like, oh no, 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 not you, not you. You're looking at these guys. You're there on the bench. You're important to us. You're there on the bench. We know how valuable you are. You'll come in and win matches for us, but please wait for your opportunity. And like he did in 2019, walked in, took that hat trick. Here walked in, took that fifer, blew those stumps away. So that's the way it's been, and we really missed him. Like the World Cup was like time after time he kept performing in the red ball and ODIs. Even in T20s when he was called back in 2022 out of nowhere, he did his part, but we probably never really rated him that high. I myself, for that regard, like always admired him, but I probably had more of an eye out for Bhuvi than I did for Shami personally as well. But now the way he performed in the World Cup, I think he really became the national hero at that time for us, and missed him. But about his return, obviously the rhythm that we keep talking about, the more he bowls, he just keeps getting his rhythm back, keeps getting his rhythm back. I'm not very concerned about that because the Ranji Trophy starts on my birthday, 11th October. So, yeah, he'll have, if he's, I hope he's fit enough to play those games. And he'll have plenty of games at that time. Like, we are not flying out until November, at least mid of November. I don't think we're flying out. So he can play those 3-4 Ranji games there, and that's pretty competitive. That should be good enough for him to get his rhythm. And even when we go to Australia, I believe there will be one or two practice matches, or if not, at least intra squad matches will be there. So he'll have a decent enough match time behind him when we head towards PGT.
Certainly, and fingers crossed he has a great recovery and comes back all guns blazing. We've seen him enough in Crick Buzz and all of these panel shows, just talking his heart out. But seeing him on the field is, I think, something that we truly enjoy. And just looking at the squad composition as well, there's just so many players giving him a run for his money because now with the inclusion of Akash Deep as well, we saw glimpses of promise again in that England series, and now being picked here again for this Bangladesh series means that the selectors see something in him. So, Naman, what were your impressions of Akash's bowling, in the just concluded Tulip Trophy and his progression from the Ranji Trophy as well?
Well, I'll give mine, but I request the viewers once I'm done, go and watch his delivery to Washington Sundar. You'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't already, please go and watch that. Like the little that I've seen of him with the red ball in hand back in that game against England and even in the Tulip Trophy game, like if we keep hearing about bowlers who have the ability to produce wicket-taking deliveries, he seems to be one of those. Like he seems to be the one who can produce a wicket-taking delivery at will. Maybe not at 100% at will right now, but as it goes on, as he develops and he progresses further, he's one who can really bowl those Jaffas and completely beat batters left, right, and center. So been pretty impressed. We'll need to see how he evolves into the Indian side completely because his debut again he came in, but there were not a lot of expectations from him back then. Okay, a domestic bowler came in to play a match in India. Many of them do. Like in India, the first choice bowlers are not available. So okay, somebody makes their debut and just fade into nothingness. But he's delivered there, and he's continued to deliver even in the red ball format here in the Duleep Trophy as well. So now he has a reputation to live up to whenever he gets that opportunity. About him giving Shami a run for his money, I don't think that's going to be the case. Shami will definitely slot in whenever he is available. But yeah, we have a pretty good backup to him. We have a pretty good fourth pace option if we ever require one in Australia or wherever we go. We've seen he can bat as well. He was hitting those sixes like anything in the League Trophy. So even with that, if there's a game where you decide to go in with four front fast bowlers, he can also raise his hand up and be like, hey, well, if you need a 9 wicket partnership, you know who you can count on. So that way, also he has a role to play for the Indian side. But yeah, about him giving a competition to Shami, eventually maybe. But right now, I believe the three Bengal pacers that we have in the team, we'll get to see them at their own time, one by the other. But in the first choice trio, that one probably would have to pick, only one of them would make the cut. So yeah, the three Bengal pacers, I believe, Akash, Mukesh, and Shami. Those are the three. If anybody missed that.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very tough choice, for the team management, kind of pick this ideal Pacers setup for this, two tests. And I think we've spoken so much about the Pacers. Let's just quickly look at the spin department as well. I mean, India has the spin quartet of, R. Ashwin, you have Ravindra Jadeja, you have Akshar Patel and Kuldeep Yadav to pick from. I mean, now again, we're kind of spoiled for choices, right? Stellar spinners. And I think even Akshat earlier in our conversation spoke about Akshat performing so well in the Duleep Trophy, scoring those 80 runs when his team was in absolute shambles. He took those four crucial wickets as well. So again, Naman, which side of the fence do you see yourself on? If Ashwin and Jadeja are going to be your picks in the team, do you go ahead with Kuldeep? Do you go ahead with Akshat? He offers you so much value with the bat as well. So tough choices, right?
This is actually the toughest choice. This is actually the toughest choice to make here because, like, Ashwin is Ashwin. There's no way he's out of the side. There's no way he's out of the side, okay? Kuldeep, the kind of series he's had against England, I've backed him for the test side for the longest, but great to see that he's finally getting his opportunities. It will be really harsh to keep him out. He's also shown what he can do with the bat. Aksar, the way he's evolved into a complete all round player over the years, like even in the BGT back in India in 2023, he's the one who got those runs every now and then. He was probably, our most consistent batter across the games. I mean, even though his run tally wasn't among the highest or the second highest, but he was consistent. He got those 30s, 40s, 50s, wherever it was needed. And then obviously there's Jadeja. I mean, he has had all that experience with him, the runs that he scored, the batter that he evolved into, batting out at 5 and 6 at times as well for India. Like over the past year and a half, for some reason, like he's not been among the popular ones. I don't know why. Like maybe his performances haven't been the usual best that he delivered, but it's Jadeja at the end of the day. Yeah. I mean, so it's a really tough call. I It is a really 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 tough call. I personally would definitely have Kuldeep and Ashwin in my 11, and it just has to be one of those for two reasons. Like one is they offer the same thing. Like although this bowling style is a bit different, both of them are left-handers who can bat. And secondly, it's probably about recent numbers versus your entire legacy as a Test match player for the country. Both are gun in the field. Both of them are. I mean, probably Jadeja slightly ahead, but there's not a clear like winner when we compare both of them in terms of fielding as well. So yeah, whatever happens in this department right now, whichever of these two they pick, I'm not sure I can complain much about it. I if I have to make that call, I think probably I'll go with Jadeja. Sorry for all the Aksar fans out there. Probably Jadeja. Unfortunately, Aksar will miss out. But yeah, it's really tough like that.
Yeah, Naman can literally see the beads of sweat coming out. I mean, you're a selector yourself, so I'm pretty sure you must be, just scratching your head thinking of, what can be this ideal choice. And I think through this conversation, I've put you, through the grinds, asked you the toughest possible questions. So, of course, I'm going to again put you on the spot and ask you your predicted playing 11 for India. I mean, I know we see a lot of names that are definitely going to make the cut, but yeah, Naman, over to you. And I think a comment also asks the same question, of the playing 11 for this test match.
Sure, sure. Hey Ayush, thanks for tuning in. So playing 11 for the test, obviously Rohit and Yashasvi at the top, Gill at 3, Kohli at 4, KL at 5. Pant walks in at 6, like 5 and 6 slightly flexible, but yeah, Pant and KL to be your middle order. 7, Jadeja for me right now. Both, like even if it's Aksar, I mean it's okay. You can have your pick. As Harsha Bogle always says, have your pick at this. Even I am myself slightly confused there. Ashwin, Kuldeep. Then about the two pacers, like there are potential combinations over there, and it depends on how the think tank, how the selectors, and more than the selectors, it's about how Rohit and Gambhir would like to proceed with it. If they really want to give, like, okay, let's go hell for leather, two best pacers are playing, then obviously Bumrah and Siraj make it. If they want a place wherein, okay, probably they want to try out one of these Akashdeep or Yash Dayal, most likely Akashdeep. If they really want to try him consistently, Give him 2 games and then rotate Bumrah and Siraj over the 2 games. Like Bumrah and Akash in one game, Siraj and Akash in the other game. This could be another potential option. So there's another case here as well, that in the first test you can play both Bumrah and Siraj, and in the second one play Akash, Deep and Yash Dayal, depending on how the games go. So there are these combinations that I feel it's on the mindset that the management is going ahead with. But thinking from their point of view, the much that we know about Gambhir and Rohit, I feel Bumrah and Siraj will start the first game.
Definitely tough choices to make, and your mind just has these temptations to include all of these players, but then it's eventually the best 11 that kind of takes the field. And I think India would want to field their best playing 11 for this first test, because Bangladesh is one opposition that again we've seen has just grown from strength to strength. But Naman, I think we've pretty much covered base with India and like all the selections part of it. But let's also have a look at the exclusions, right? Because we had Mukesh Kumar, who was another name that was tossed around a lot, and he missed out. We also have the likes of Devdutt Padikkal, Rajat Patidar, and even KS Bharat, who have lost their spots. So do you think again it was a fair call? It was a series versus Bangladesh. I mean, they could have possibly made the cut, but they just could not seem to gather themselves here.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's not required to have a very extensive squad. We have 16. The 16 covers all the bases. We've been hearing that Sarfaraz might also play in the second game of the League Trophy. They might release him from the squad to feature in that game. So there's no real reason for you to include a particular here in the squad right now. And even for Mukesh Kumar, like only two pacers are going to play a game. You still have four. So you have a possibility for a concussion substitute here as well if you require one. So I don't really see, like, yeah, if you have to give a rationale, yeah, you can probably say that Sarfaraz had a few good games, and even in the League Cup he did well, and he seemed to be the one to probably feature with the side earlier ahead of Padikkal there. So that's why I feel he retains and Padikkal misses out. And with regards to somebody like a Mukesh Kumar, I feel we've seen what he has to offer to us in the format. Even in Test format, he's had a few games. We know what he has to offer. He's played for the India A side for a while. He's played domestic for a while. We know his offerings. Right now, probably it's about testing out these guys, what Akash can bring to the table, what Yash Dayal can bring to the table. So I believe that's more or less the reason. And eventually, whoever the team feels is the better pick among those will go ahead. And even if, God forbid, a requirement does turn up, we're in India right now. Like the first game is in Chennai. The League Trophy games are going on in Anantapur. It's literally an hour's flight away. So you can definitely fly somebody in. Second one is in my hometown, Kanpur. Although the flight connectivity is pretty bad, but I'm sure there won't be any issue. And in UP, we breed fast bowlers like anything, so we will find some good fast bowlers and even batters if required.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think the next question of mine is probably going to take us down that nostalgic arc, Naman. I think we were talking about this off record a lot, but you said you would save up some points for this. Let's talk about Pujara and Rahane, right? I mean, definitely they were not going to make the cut for this squad, but somewhere I'm pretty sure somewhere the fan in you was hoping, that. Maybe some county performances would kind of make the case for them, but somewhere they have just fallen behind so much in that pecking order that a comeback is definitely not on the cards. Or are you just hoping for a miracle, Naman?
Like as an avid fan, I'll definitely have the hopes for a miracle, even though how less they might seem. Even though it is a scenario like a 30 required of 30 for the opposition, I'll still keep my hopes alive because it can happen. But yeah, like it does seem to be the end of the road for both of them. And the fact that even I'm dead sure if a word would have gone from the selectors or the management to them that, hey, do play the league trophy. We might consider you. Just be around. Just be around, play the league trophy. If that were the scenario, I'm sure they would have picked the league trophy over county. But they would have made their commitments earlier, and whatever happened over there, they're there away playing in the county. So that in itself is an indication that yeah, it does seem to be the end of the road for them, and it feels a bit sad because they were the senior heroes for us last time when we were down under for the BGT, and like there was that that era from 2016 till 2019-20, our test batting was known for our 3, 4, and 5. Like the openers kept revolving a bit. There was Murli Vijay, Shikhar Dhawan, KL Rahul, Abhinav Mukund played a few games. There were a few changes at the top. The keeper kept changing. Saha kept a few. Parthiv kept in a few. Then you had Pant walking in eventually. Then DK played a few games. But the 3-4-5 was the one that remained consistent. And that is something that we really like, that those batting partnerships, those innings is what is where we evolved into people who understand the little bit of cricket that we do than just people who would watch cricket for the fun of it. Those were the times. So it's definitely a very nostalgic moment. And they were the ones like MCG wouldn't have been possible without Rahane's 100. Sydney and Gabba wouldn't have been possible without Pudji's grit. Even other than that, on overseas tours, the way they were the ones standing between the opposition and a victory. So yeah, it's a bit emotional, but at the same time, like the game goes on. The game definitely does go on. So would have loved for them to have possibly a farewell series, but not everybody gets one, so it's okay. Like even Rahul and VVS didn't have one, and I believe these two have embodied the two of them to great lengths, be it their batting position, be it their nature, be it their personalities. They have mirrored the two of them in a lot of manners. So I believe the same is going to be the case with them. And like they have their own second innings, they'll have their own second innings. They'll have a lot to contribute to Indian cricket in whatever capacity that they can, as batting coaches, as mentors, as directors at the NCA, under 19 coaches. So yeah, looking forward to those kind of innings, and still being hopeful that maybe someday, somewhere, somehow they find a way back.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like that unfinished chapter, right? They just had so much more to offer. And I think for a lot of us, growing up watching Test cricket as well, it kind of shaped our conscience, right, of Test cricket as well. I hope, as you rightly said, they get that farewell series as well. And we don't end on this note that, yeah, they're like, VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid, where they didn't kind of get that. And yeah, at least the Delulu part in us should be hopeful that, this duo will get, a proper farewell as well. But talking of Shreyas Iyer as well, now another person who misses out. A lot of fans were disappointed because we did see some glimpses of a fascinating knock, brewing in that Duleep Trophy. But I felt he just threw his wicket away. Now and again, when you look at Shreyas Iyer, the red ball player, does he inspire a lot of confidence? Is he someone you would actually invest in?
So, like, about what you just the moment you were saying all of it, it just reminded me of that anecdote that he had himself shared once about him batting in a domestic game, or was it an India A game? And Rahul Dravid was the coach. He hit a bowler for a six, and Rahul just told him, "What the hell are you doing?" And I believe he's probably still in that kind of zone itself. Like he's shown so much promise. I earmarked him as the future Test captain for us as well. That's how I saw him evolving into the Red Bull format, because I saw the leadership in him back in 2018 itself. Really felt that he can have the run, he can be the potential leader for us in the future, and but hasn't really transpired in the Red Bull format, especially. Like first there were the short ball difficulties that he faced. He worked his way around. Still doesn't control it very well, but has figured out a way. But is susceptible to it nevertheless. Even in the series gone by in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, he didn't have the kind of run you would expect him to. Even like it was his. The platform was his. The opportunities were his own to make it count. But like ever since the 100 that he made in Kanpur, the last time a test was played there, and that knock in Bangladesh where he and Ashwin rescued India, post that, like the signs of worries were a lot more than the signs of confidence for him, especially in the test arena. And the others just grabbed their opportunities. Like his injuries didn't help his cause either. And then the likes of Sarfaraz, the way he burst onto the scene, he grabbed his opportunity. KL Rahul, given the opportunity that he got in the middle order, he grabbed his opportunity. Back then, KL Rahul wasn't in the frame for the middle order slot. He was in 2021, but different chapter. Like we'll have a full sign and Koska graph about KL Rahul's career and where he's batted and where he was earmarked and what was expected of him and everything. We need to do an episode on KL Rahul, Alexei. But yeah, given everyone how they burst onto the scene during all of it. It just made it very difficult for him to hold on to that spot. Even right now, I believe if he has a great Dilip Trophy right now, if he piles on those runs, I won't be surprised if he's the other spare batter on that flight to Australia along with Sarfaraz Khan. He could be, but he really needs to instill that confidence and play the mature knocks that he can. Put that price on his wicket. Don't give it away. Like let the bowler take his wicket. Put that price on. If he manages to do that, he still can get that boarding pass to Australia. Chances are a bit bleak, but he he's someone who has that temperament in him, but he just has to bring it out on the field and maybe play a bit for himself, because in this format, if he plays for himself, he plays for the team. It's not a T20 where you have to play completely selflessly. So just go out and spend a day or two in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, the way Shreyas Iyer just fell out of the reckoning. I mean, the whole saga that happened, he lost his contract and he came back to, kind of win that IPL with KKR. A lot of things have happened, good things. I hope, that kind of spirals into him also playing good red ball cricket, eventually, making his place for that New Zealand series, for eventually the BGT as well, that, we keep looking at so much. And I think through our conversation, Naman, we've spoken so obsessively about the Indian team. Of course, this is the India squad analysis episode, but I think we also need to acknowledge Bangladesh, right? I mean, they will definitely be entering the series with such confidence. A historic win on home soil, a clean sweep of Pakistan, right? That I think no one saw coming, their first ever against this rival. So, Naman, somewhere do you think we can expect an interesting result here as well? We have seen how Bangladesh has the tendency to, put India on the mat and really, kind of stifle us. But do you see a possibility of that happening here?
I mean, it shouldn't. I hope it's not another incident of India steamrolling a visiting side. I hope to see some sort of competition here, and they have shown the signs for it. So, like the series in Pakistan that just went by, damn, that was something. I mean, to look at the way things had been going on in their country, despite all that baggage coming out here and having been in the situation that they were in the first innings. They were like 26 for 6, 26 for 7 or that sort. And then the partnership that Liton Das and Mehdi Hassan Miraj, they struck. So that inspires. No, wait a second. Was that Mushfiqur in the first game or was it Liton? I think I'm mixing it up a bit. I think I'm mixing up both the games. But yeah, just this is the. So it's about the mental resolve that they showed back then. So it's one thing you might say that okay, Pakistan didn't have their best bowling attack. They didn't have Shaheen Naseem across the series. All those things will be said throughout. They will be said. But more than anything, it's your mental resolve that they put out on field over there. Coming from such a scenario back at home in our in another country, in that situation when you are so many down for so little, still battling it out there, piling on those runs, and winning the game from that sort of a situation, it's the grit. They showed that grit out there. I mean, more than the cricket, more than the technical aspects of it, that's my highlight for the series. The grit that they had shown there. If they manage to bring the same grit, the same tenacity to India, I believe and hope we have some competition in front of us. But like this is how I would look at it from the serious perspective. From the humor side, it's Pakistan and Bangladesh at the end of the day. You never know what they do on their day, what they don't do on their day. Yeah, I mean, it was it was humorous to an extent where it stopped being humorous after that. That's how the series was. Like for a while, it seemed like nobody wanted to win. Everybody's giving it to the other, but yeah, this is the lighter side of things. But and the team composition as well. They have. It's not like it's just one individual who's been winning them games. There are people who. It's an entire team effort for them. Like Mushfiqur Rahim got that big score in one of the games. Liton got that 100. Mehdi has been chipping in with those runs. Naheed Rana, the newcomer, after being expensive in the first one, picked up those wickets in the second game. Taskin is back onto the scene. Shakib is definitely, he's been around since forever now. Tanzid Hassan, uh, he's maturing as he progresses. Shanto is there. He's also now the leader of the group. He's matured a lot over the past 2 3 years since we've seen him regularly. So have the they have the pieces together. In Pakistan, the pieces all came together and transpired for a historical victory. Definitely, the quality of opposition is very different here. The quality there, Pakistan, India and India, the pitches will be very different here. Pakistan, God knows what sort of highways they've been building for a while. India, you will have pitches where games will be competitive. There will be a competition between bat and ball. So it will be good to see whether their batters can put a price on their wicket against the Indian bowling attack. Whether their bowlers, I believe, still can do to Indians what they can. They can still get them out. But I believe it's more about how quickly both the sides can get the other side out. That's how I would look at it. Saying things like Harsha Bhokle right now, the team will be won by the game will be won by the team who gives away the lesser runs. Tweets of Bhokle, but yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
that's
I'm
how.
just thinking of that. Oh my God, 1 hour of Naman and we get to see this side. Interesting, Naman, but go on.
That's it. I mean, that's how it's gonna be. I hope it's a competition. I really hope it's a competition. It's not one of those series where games are getting over in 2 days, 3 days. The last time we saw games in Chennai, Joe Root batted 2 days. He got that big score, and in the second one, Ashwin got that 100. So those tracks are pretty good. Had games going on for long. Kanpur always gives out a good track. I like my personal biases aside. If you look at the records, if you look at the history, it has been one of the most competitive grounds in India for any format. There has been a competition between bat and ball. You cannot say that one particular aspect of the game has been dominating. You will get a bit of seam on the first day and earlier into day two. You will get a bit of spin as the game goes on. It is a competitive ground. I mean, back last time a match happened in Kanpur, Rahul Dravid himself praised the ground curators there. So I have no doubt that the pitches should not ideally be an issue for us. And I just hope to see a good side turning out, battling it for those 4 5 days at least, and then we should get to win it because we need to be tested against a good opposition. We really need to be.
Absolutely. Either case, we're in for a very exciting series, and you pulled your strings to ensure, the second test also happens in Kanpur, Naman. So, congratulations on that. And let's actually take this question from.
Unfortunately, I won't be there. Unfortunately, I
Oh,
won't be there.
no.
I'll be here in Mumbai
Okay.
itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I might go to the New Zealand Mumbai test. Big might.
Might. Okay. Yeah. So Naman has marked his presence, and you can't make it too obvious too, right? I mean, you have your high power, so you can't mark your presence everywhere. But let's take this quick question from Nikhil as well. That goes on to say, for the Bangladesh series, as a viewer, would you prefer a pitch that turns square right from day one, or a pitch that gradually does? Naman, where do you find yourself? What type of pitch would you prefer?
I mean, I would see as a test match purist, I would never want a pitch that turns square from day one. Period. I would never want that. It's not good for a 5 day game. It does test the batters. There's all sorts of arguments about that, but I do not want a pitch that turns square from day one. Like I mentioned, you want it to progress as it goes on. You want the ball to seam around in the first day, day and a half. Then, slightly the batters come into the play. 2 and a half session long partnerships on day two and three. That's how I visualize Test cricket moving ahead. And then, towards the end of day three, that rough patches are there around the bowler's foot marks, and then the ball starts turning. Then, towards the end of day four, day five, one will just bite the dust and spin there. One will just hit the crack and spin in there. That's how I see a good test match. And I do not like a pitch that turns square from day one. Bit of turn, obviously, it's good, but it should also look at the bowler's quality, man. I mean, Nathan Lyon, the reason why he's regarded so highly is because he's gotten all those wickets in Australia where the ball doesn't square from day one. That's why he's rated so highly. Even Ashwin, for all the debates that you say that he's bowling in Indian dust balls, that's why he has all those wickets. Bro, he's gotten those wickets on international conditions as well. That's how you become a legend out of a great bowler. That's why these players are legends, and you need to have that test. You need to have that competition between bat and ball. You need to have the bowlers also buy those wickets, try those lines, be consistent. That's what I look forward to.
Definitely. And I think this will be one of my last questions to you, Naman. I've pestered you enough through our discussion, but we have such an exciting
Yeah.
series coming up. I think this is one among the many times, one of the very few times that a series versus Bangladesh is being spoken about so much. Everyone's so excited. We're sending our A squad, not A squad, like our star squad to kind of play this
Yeah,
series as well.
it's a
So,
lot to
Naman,
look
what are
forward
your
to, no?
yes, yeah? So, what are your
Yeah,
expectations from the series? There's just so many redemption arcs, so many players who want to make a case. There's just so much to look forward to, right?
a lot. Really, really a lot to look forward to. I mean, every player who might feature for each side, there's a lot to look forward to. Like I briefly alluded to it, Mushfiqur Rahim and Shakibul Hasan. I don't know how long they'll go on. They seem to be going on forever, but you know, there has to be some time for them. Mushfiqur, the way he batted, like he has those great knocks once in a while and then again plateaus. That one great knock, then again plateaus. So how long? Which format does he prioritize among the three? Which one does he want to play on till the long? And like let's say let's if we were just to take a basic assumption that he and Shakib, probably both of them, might not continue with Test after this cycle, then this is probably as big as it's gonna get for them. As big as it's gonna get for them to set their legacy. That okay, we went to India, we won a bloody Test match there. That's probably their motivation here. So there's that side to it as well. And sorry, what was the question again? I just went on to myself.
No, I
I'm
was
so
asking
sorry.
you your expectations from the series,
Yeah,
and a lot of players
expectations.
have their
Yeah,
points
yeah,
to
yeah.
prove, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I went on to the Bangladesh side first, and for India as well. Like every player has something to deliver. Like be it Kohli, he doesn't have a point to prove, but he has standards to maintain. He has standards to maintain. I'm not gonna back down from that, bro. He has to put on those runs, average 70, 80 odd in the series. He has to do that. He he owes it to himself. Nobody else. He owes it to himself to do that. And Rohit, we know the way he is. Probably add another WTC to that bag of trophies that he carries with him. And for the spinners to battle it out, because in Australia you might play two spinners. So for them to stake claim to be the two spinners who might make it to the 11, and even for the middle order, I mean, if KL is getting that run that I believe he should, then is he really making his claim that okay, I'm not going from here. The spot is mine. Now it is going to be mine for how much ever it is going to be. I'm not leaving. So plenty for everyone to play for, plenty for the team to play for, plenty for the coach to play for. It's going to be his first series as a test coach for us. So excited to see how those dynamics are going to play out, because like we'll really look forward to that in Australia, because the body language has to be of a certain way. But even here, yeah, the kind of attitude they bring onto the field. Let's see how things evolve for us. And expectations, I mean, already said, expecting Shubman to have a good series here, hoping for him to have a good series here. And now just hope to see at least a couple of 200 run opening partnerships for India. Been a long time since we've seen those in India.
I mean, either case, we will be hoping for good quality cricket, and yeah, this pretty much does conclude our discussion as well. First up, I'd again like to take this opportunity to thank you for joining me on the panel today that just comprised you, which surprised you a bit. But then, Naman, of course, you're an expert, so we had to call you on for your astute insights and remarkable perspectives. You added a lot of value to this conversation, and to all the viewers who joined in and asked us these lovely questions. Thank you so much, guys. Hope to see you in future streams as well. And if you're catching this later, I hope you do catch it later as well. Please do drop in your feedback, comments, or anything in the comment section as well. We will get to that. And yeah, the plan is to do a lot of live shows with cricket fans like this. Naman and I were just talking off record about how excited we are for the Border Gavaskar Trophy that's happening like later this year, but seemingly we can't get enough of talking about it. But guys, please stay tuned for that as well. We are planning some content around that time. And please do follow Never in the Back Foot on all of our social media handles as well. We have an audio podcast on Spotify where Naman has come many times, so you can probably go into that whole nostalgia deep dive and listen to some of his past episodes as well. And that's all for now from all of us. Thank you so much. Bye. Good night.
Thanks, Neha. Cheers.
Cheers.